is so long that they got 2 locomotives. I remember years ago when I took that train ride, it only had probably less than half of the cars and 1 locomotive. But there's so many people wanting to ride it now because of the fall foliage, which is now in peak. That's why we're taking a drive up here. They say next week would actually be peak, but next week every single day is cold and raining. So that'll probably make the visibility where you wouldn't even be able to see it on the mountains. Also, where we're going today is likely going to be closed next week, and I don't know if it'll reopen or not. It all depends on the weather. The Mount Washington Auto Road. Today is the 3rd or the 4th. Today is the 4th of October, and this road looks absolutely beautiful with the sun on it. Hopefully the sun's behind us when we're going up Mount Washington in about, we'll be there maybe an hour or so. So, northern New England has a couple different types of tourist season, depending on where you live. This area here has the summer tourist season. Then they got a little break in the end of August, yes. September's a break. Then you go into October. Then you got all the leaf peepers on the road. That's what all the traffic is from right now. The speed limits are down in most places, 5 or 10 miles an hour, because there's so many people taking pictures of the trees. This will end in another maybe 2 weeks or so. Then another break. Then tourist season starts again for skiing and snowmobiling. Then, as soon as the snow starts to melt, there's a big break in the spring until next summer again. Anything you're seeing, the haze, is wildfire smoke. Today, the sky is completely clear. Any haze would be the wildfire smoke. Before taking this trip, we went out and cleaned the windshields at the gas station, and it should be clear except for any bugs we may have picked up along the way. So here, these trees will be going for a while. They still got a little bit of green here, but the tops are already bald. If we have time today after the Mount Washington Auto Road, I also want to try driving Bear Notch Road, which is supposed to be very pretty, and it's very close, but it all depends if we run out of daylight or not. Because the Mount Washington Auto Road, last time we did it, took about 35 minutes or so to go up it and then back down, but today the roads seem packed. Yes, today is a weekday, but it doesn't really matter during tourist season. People will take any day off to come up here. So today is just like a weekend, and imagine being here on the actual weekend this time of year. Roads would be really bad. I wonder how good the fall foliage will be up here. Because when you get to that elevation, the trees that are pretty don't usually grow up there. We got a little bit of birch that grows at high elevations, but maple doesn't do too well that high up. It's mostly pine trees, which stop the other ones from growing. Yeah, this is actually a very fast road. The speed limit is 50 miles an hour, but we are going at about 35 because there's so many people slowing down to take pictures of the trees. This area looks a little bit past peak. That might be a result of some gypsy moth damage, which there is further up on this road. Further up on this road, even in the summertime, there's a giant dead area that just doesn't grow leaves. That was from the gypsy moths a few years back, which is a invasive caterpillar, and they come in groups of millions at the same time, and they defoliate the tree. A tree can usually withstand that, but when they do it multiple years in a row, the tree loses its energy and it dies. gypsy moth caterpillars love oak and maple, they're favorites. But when those trees run out, they'll eat anything. They'll even go after pine needles. And when those trees are bald, they usually don't survive 1 year. Evergreens, they can't regenerate as easily. I love driving through here because the sun right now seems to be at a great angle where it's shining right through the trees, but not so much at the windshield. So you can really see those vibrant yellows. And in the distance, I can see a whole bunch of red. Will that get brighter? I don't think so. I think the reason it looks dim in the distance is because there's a slight haze of wildfire smoke. The trees you see that haven't really turned yet are all oak trees. The ones that are still nice and green. The Mount Washington Hotel today looked really beautiful. Was not a parking spot there. That's so overcrowded, that place. Today should have probably been one of those days. Probably should have left the house at like 7 in the morning and got to the auto road right when it opened. Then there wouldn't be as many people on it. But right now it is 1:30 and I'm going to stop for lunch. Then we're going to go ahead and do it. Supposedly the auto road closes at 4 this time of year. I don't know if that is when you have to be off it, but I'm thinking that's when the last vehicle's allowed up. But we should make it regardless. I actually filmed the same exact traffic. I think I was up here like a week ago making a video doing drain updates because this road had a bunch of problems during the spring thaw. Just recently posted a video driving this if you wanted to see what it looked like a week ago. These colors of the trees weren't even bright yet. Today I'm going to attempt it, but I'm not sure how well it's going to be able to be edited together. Sometimes I have problems moving massive video files. I'll probably just degrade it a bit if I can't move a giant file. I have a side-facing camera I have set up right now. It's not going yet, but on the mountain I want to have a side view, because a side view would be really good. A split screen, getting a good view. Now the top of the mountain doesn't have trees. My hope is we'll be able to just look down into the valleys and see a whole bunch of colorful. Although I don't know if the wildfire smoke will allow that clear of a view. That's still from the fires burning a couple thousand miles away in Canada. But it isn't as bad as it was in the spring. In the spring you couldn't even see the mountains. Like that little mountain in front of us, we wouldn't be able to see that little peak at its worst. So today I got a second tripod in my passenger seat with a few logs on it so it can't tip over. And it's perfectly stationed out the side window, which I just cleaned. If you can see on the hood, it looks like there's pollen or something. I don't know what kind of tree is pollinating this time of year, but there's dust all over the place. Like big granules of dust. It's not from a dirt road. So this auto road usually closes in the middle of October. Sometimes it can go into November. It all depends when it starts snowing up there, because there is snow multiple days in the forecast next week on Mount Washington. A lot of the days up there, it doesn't get warm anymore. Today is 60 degrees up on the top of the mountain, which is, doesn't always get that warm. That's above average. Today is above average. For it to be in the 80s right now at the bottom of the mountain, this late in the year, we're like 20 degrees above normal right now. Next week we'll be back into about normal. Every day is like 50 for the high, and every night's in the 30s. But up there, every night's like in the 20s and snowing. But this time of year it could melt and they could reopen it again. don't even want to know how long this traffic's going to take, because there's a lot of traffic today for tourist season. So New Hampshire goes around and they pave all their roads, like, not all their roads, they're state highways. Any state can have towns that don't have good budgets and have horrible roads. That's just in town. But this is the state-run highways. This is a state highway that we're on. They repave it like every 3 years. They don't tear it up, they just add a little layer on the side and they add a little bit of dirt on the edge to bring up the level of the road. They actually don't use dirt, they use sand and gravel mixed. They steamroll on the side of it, which prevents grass from growing. But during a big rainstorm, it causes the whole edge of the road to wash out. And they're not putting the edging there so you pulling over doesn't start a forest fire, because forest fires are pretty rare on this side of the country. This guy's on his cell phone up there. See this guy not moving? The way it just flashed, did that guy have his car in park? Fall colors don't seem as good anymore. I know just an hour north of here, the colors aren't even started yet. That's how much elevation plays a role in this. I bet there would be an hour-long traffic jam if I continued down this road into North Conway, New Hampshire. There's always huge traffic jams in there, so there's ways to bypass that whole town. I'm trying to figure out why the air conditioning doesn't seem to be doing much. It's on high and it doesn't feel like it's getting cold in here. I hope we can even make it to the auto road with all these people in the way. Because this road, we've been traveling like 15 miles under the speed limit for a long time. It's not the people on the road, it's everyone's driving very slow. And on roads like this, you got a lot of traffic whiplash, which means nobody's keeping a consistent speed. And one thing back there, I don't understand why the car doesn't do this. You heard how it made that beeping sound. That beeping sound, it comes up on the screen in here and it starts flashing. It says brake, brake, put your brakes on. This car has automatic brakes. How come it doesn't apply them for me? I was told that it can't apply them for me with the push bar on the front. But why? it still detected that it needed to stop. So how does one sensor prevent it from doing the other? And the sensor that controls that's definitely not covered up, because the automatic brakes I know work.